people. This is street radio for unsung hero, riding in the Rego.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this installment of NightKap ReKap. This is where we sit back, we pause the music, and we discuss various topics that goes on within our community. Tonight we'll be having a brief discussion on, of course, the violence that has taken place over this past weekend, as well as the state of Chicago public school systems. Of course, I invite you to like the NightKap page on Facebook. Just search for NightKap Radio, that is Cap with a K, as well as like the Spreaker page, NightKap Radio again. And then you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat for updates on what's going on with NightKap and just to get in tune with me personally. You can follow me at Corvallis_Lavelle. That is spelled CORVALES_LEVELL. As we get into the coverage of yet again another violent weekend here in Chicago, I know a lot of you look and say, why are we always covering violence? Why is it always got to be Chicago and synonym with violence? I understand that. I am against the covering of violence so much, but I do feel that it is something that needs to be addressed, something that needs to be put out there. Now, I do feel just putting it out there is just half the battle. What solutions, what possibilities, what obstacles are there that is keeping peace from this city? Those are things that are not being discussed. It's one thing to open up the newspaper or turn on the news and say X, Y amount of, people have been shot in such and such neighborhood. Yep, their names and where they're from. That's just very, very nitpicking. That's very touching just the surface. What needs to be done, it needs to be some sense of critical thinking. It needs to be some form of community-based cooperation that's going to try to find a solution to why it is this widespread violence. Why is it so much of a culture here, almost to the point where people feel that's the only option? It is not even to the point where you hear of, this fight broke out at such and such party. No, it's instantly gunshots. This amount of people have died. This amount of people are injured. This weekend on the south side, 3 people were shot while leaving from a party. One of the victims actually was pronounced dead at the scene, 19-year-old Nicole Towns. That was this previous Friday evening. There was also a shooting on Saturday where an 18-year-old man, Javante Linson, was found dead at the 3400 block of South Hamlin with gunshot wounds to the head and abdomen. Then there was Sunday morning where a Tim triplet who was only 20 was found dead. And then the 4th victim, which actually was the first victim reported for the weekend. This one is a little personal. It actually hurt. But Rashad Abdullah was shot on the 70th 100 block of South Tallman. This, hit real close to home because that's the exact block where I grew up. I actually grew up with Abdullah. Very fun-loving guy. Didn't cause anybody any harm. But yet his family has to go through this. And, there's nothing that can be done right now. You just have to sit and hope justice is prevailed. But it calls attention to this topic. Why is it that we have to go through these violent reports every weekend? Every weekend, somebody reports on the violence in the city. And, of course, everyone has their opinion on what's going on. I ran across an interview that Little Bibby had with Vlad TV where he expressed his opinion on the violence in Chicago. I actually respect the things he said. He acknowledged that everything was his opinion. He gave his honest truth. But at the same time, there's some things he did refuse to answer. He tried to keep the interview as positive, as he possibly could. So let's check out some of the things that he had to say.
You just can't be in the wrong places at the wrong time.
That's true.
And you gotta, if you want to roam around places, you gotta have protection, or you gotta have people with you. You know.
You got a team with you.
Man, we light today, man.
As I said before, I respect Little Bibby for the way he conducted himself in an interview, the way he gave his valid opinion. It was just his opinion. He was not speaking for anyone else. You can't help but to respect that out of an artist or anyone in particular. One thing that can be discussed when dealing with the violence and everything that's going on in the city is the school systems. A lot of the victims and a lot of the people accused of a lot of these violent crimes are of the youth. And it can be argued that if they had something constructive, something to fill that void, maybe they won't be out in the street as much. Maybe it won't be as much as a struggle. Maybe things could be a little bit different if it was some solid foundation that these children can fall back on. Some of these victims are being good students. They have been stellar athletes. But yet everybody say, oh, wrong place, wrong time. I wouldn't necessarily say the wrong place at the wrong time, because some of these people, you know, are victims of these violent crimes in their own home. So how is your home the wrong place? I mean, home should be where the heart is. Home shouldn't be where your heart stops. But as regards to the schooling, there are, of course, a lack of funding for various things that many good people in the school would like to see happen. I have pulled up an interview that the principal of Finger actually conducted with CNN Money. So let's just hear some of the things that she had to say during her interview.
Yeah, I think there's three main things. The first is having the resources to be able to be flexible within like solutions that we want to implement. So our school might not necessarily be traditional in a lot of ways, but I think that's okay because you have to be able to be innovative and creative to be able to reach the kids. And so I think that's really important. I think the second, kind of secret sauce, recipe is really having the staff that really is philosophically aligned to the vision of the school, that all kids, matter and can be successful. Because if that adult doesn't care, doesn't push the kids forward, it stops right there. And so having great teachers and great support staff to really work with the kids. And then three is just those partnerships, with other outside organizations to help support the work, because we're in school from 8 to 3, but we're trying to really remedy a lot of issues that happen on the outside so they don't trickle back into the school. And so it's critical to have those partnerships, obviously to expose the kids to the idea of what that is, but also to help them want more for their own lives.
And as you can see, there are very principals that are just as she is, with feels that without the proper funding, without things that are going on, the proper people in place, that the school systems cannot thrive in Chicago. We all know that everything is based on, property taxes, and these low-income areas, they don't pay a lot of taxes, or if they even have the money to pay them at all. So the schools are suffering because of lack of funds. Another thing is the staff. A lot of the staff seems like in the public schools are unhappy with the situation. Some with their own personally situation as far as pay and advancement, things like that. But some teachers are just fed up with the way things are going. They want things to be better. They have the tools. I'm not going to say they have the tools. They have the drive to want to make things better, but lack the tools and the opportunity to do so. I understand this fully. I grew up on the South Side. I graduated from Harper High School. There were many teachers that I had that were good teachers, but they just got fed up with the things that are going on in the quote-unquote system. So let's hear what some other parents and some other officials may have to say about certain things that go on in the Chicago public schools.
We aspire to be a world-class city, and without a world-class education system, it is pretty tough to maintain a world-class position.
People who have thick skins, who are willing to do what they think is right, regardless of whether or not it's popular, because that's what we're going to need to get. That's what we need to get done to get to a better school system, because doing what we've been doing clearly isn't working.
In an ideal situation is to be able to sit down and discuss their future, the future of their children. That's very important. It's a big, big disconnect between the LSC schools and City Hall.
And as you see, this is something that needs to be brought up. This is something that needs to be discussed. And as always, I invite you to like the Facebook page, NightKap Radio. Once again, that is Cap with a K. Or you can tweet your response. Just follow me at Twitter. That is at Corvallis_Lavelle. That is spelled CORVALES_LEVELL. As always, I encourage interaction. This is not just for me to get here and speak on statistics or voice my opinion. This is to provoke conversation, to hopefully, as Tupac said, spark the mind that will ignite change in the world. So let's get out here. I know with the NightKap Radio, it's all laid back with the music. Tuck the kids in. Let's get some personal time. But for NightKap ReKap, keep the kids up. Have them tune in. Let's have some discussion. Let's bring this to our homes. Let's bring this to our schools. Let's bring this to our churches. Let's bring this to our jobs, our communities, our aldermen. Just let's get out here and let's see some change in the city of Chicago. As always, thank you for listening. Be cool, be safe, and be blessed, Chicago. This is NightKap ReKap.
Yeah, it's for the people. This is street radio for unsung hero riding in the